Hair looks dreadful. Here we go. Are we live? Maybe. Hello, hello, hello. Did I shrink? Oh, was that? Hang on. Did I click go live a little bit earlier than I thought? I think I maybe did. Oops. No, that's just what my camera looks like when I'm sat down. Because it is a standing desk. My camera is set like quite high. It's just the top of my head for the first couple of minutes of the stream. There we go. Little insight. And you can see it slowly move up. Thanks to FlexiSpot. They sent me over the desk. Appreciate it. Have we got the chat loaded up? Here we go. I'll put it there. Now, let's see if the 2 hours of spending time trying to fix things has fixed things. It's gonna be entertaining. Could just completely not work. Here we go. Hilarious to click and just see your forehead. Yeah, apologies. I didn't realize I'd started it seconds earlier. Thought I knew I'd clicked like turn OBS on, but I didn't realize I'd clicked also start the stream. Usually I give it a couple of minutes before I click that second button, because there is a delay on YouTube as well. You get like a little bit of a delay. So normally I give it a minute, but obviously today I'm feeling prepared. I'm feeling ready. I'm feeling vibrant for this first qualifying session of the year. I keep clicking the wrong button though, so that will absolutely burn me. There we go. Okay, I've got everything loaded. I can see that I'm live. Hopefully the microphone and audio is all okay. Give me a little yeah, nah in the chat if it is okay. Give me a yeah. If it's not okay, give me a no. And let's see, have I got the chat going? I think so. Okay, cool. We'll call it. Hello, Talker 22. Hello, everyone. Long time no see. It has been a little while. It's been a weird off season for me. Big news coming. I will let you know about it around the Japanese Grand Prix weekend, more so, because I am just finalizing things. But yeah, it's been a bit of a weird off season. It's always weird. My life's weird. Antonio, thank you for the membership. Let the season begin indeed. 2026. I am all about it. 2026 is the year of not applicable. It is the year of Crash Happy. It is the year we are going to absolutely smash everything. Just letting you know. Keeping you up to date. You guys know already. You're in. You're here. You're early. Everyone else is going to understand the absolute domination we are going to have over the Formula One YouTube space to come. Don't you worry. Nah, yeah. Thank you. True's in for the... He was in free practice 3. Surely you're not from the UK, because I've been up since 1 a.m. and I've spent the last 3 hours. Like, why Australia? I know Australia is a great place to start the Formula One season, but for me, who is trying to set up a stream on a Saturday morning, oh, it's it is not the one. Had to get up at 1 to do the practice stream to make sure that multi-viewer was working so that we got everything prepared. Then it wasn't working, so I had to stop the stream anyway. Missed all the good bits, like Carlos Sainz came to a stop, but we missed George Russell going quickest. We missed Kimi Antonelli's crash. And then now I've spent 2 hours trying to get this all to work, so hopefully it does. Who do I think is going to get pole? I mean, George Russell looking pretty solid in that final part of free practice 3, but the Ferraris look good. Never say never when it comes to Max Verstappen. You know, there's a lot of drivers on the grid that it's new regulations, is completely brand new. Anyone from the top 4 teams, like Mercedes, Ferrari, Red Bull, I'd be surprised if it's Hadjar. I'd be super surprised if it's Antonelli. But apart from that, any of those 6, feel free to go for it. please shout out. I shall. Molzow. Molzu. Mol. Gonna leave it there. I would be in the Free Practice 3 stream, but it's sleepy. I mean, I wish I was sleeping like a baby. It's been a long week, but we are there now. Alonso will get pole trust. No. I mean, we can talk about it. We can throw up some. What have we even got? Oh, actually, before tomorrow, because, of course, we are still doing our predictions before every single Grand Prix. Before tomorrow, I released it on Monday. I've had like over 1,000 people already get their votes in. But it's your final opportunity before qualifying. You have to get the votes in before qualifying. I do lock it after qualifying. Before qualifying, you have to get your predictions in for the winner, the drivers that are going to be on the podium, the surprise package of the weekend. It's always a positive surprise, a good surprise for the weekend. The best team of the weekend, and then also, with the good comes the bad, which driver you think is going to struggle the most and which team you think is going to flop. Hands up if you've already put in your votes, and hands up if you've already put Aston Martin for the team flop. I think that's me. They have been absolutely abysmal, haven't they? Considering the expectation, considering the hype we had around Aston Martin, it is madness to me that they are so bad. Like, how are they so bad? It's ridiculous. Hello. Lando wins. I would absolutely love that. Love that. Have you read my message above? I can't see it anymore. Apologies. Aston Martin to be fined $300,000 for failing to complete the race. I mean, I think they're going to do the whole, we did the formation lap, so technically we turned up. Wink. Like, it's just horrendous from them. Shall we have a little look at the Drivers' Championship? I'll pop it up. I mean, it means nothing at this point. And you'll notice I've just kind of kept the drivers in the formation that they were in terms of last season. Lando Norris at the top, at least, you know, at the top of the Drivers' Championship for at least one more session is what I'll take as a McLaren fan. Will we be at the top of this at the end of this weekend? We'll have to wait and see. But Lando Norris does come into this season the reigning Drivers' World Champion after all. So let's give him the respect that he deserves. I feel like it's been a bit of a weird off-season for Lando. There's not been much talk about whether or not he'll bounce back and win another championship this season as of yet. So we'll have to kind of wait and see where the McLaren team slots in. McLaren have been the most difficult team to judge, I feel, because all the time they've basically been saying, yeah, the practice car is just kind of what it is. We're not really trying that hard during the testing sessions. We'll just kind of see how fast we are come the start of the season. And then they've also said that they're hoping to develop quite a lot throughout the year, mainly more than other teams who have kind of put more resources and maybe front-loaded their resources into the season. A bit like what they did in the last regulation cycle, right? They did not start the season, or they did not start the last regulation cycle in 2022 as the fastest car by any means. They finished behind Alpine in the Constructors' Championship in 2022, which still gives me nightmares, considering they then went on very different trajectories. You look at how the McLaren team started behind Alpine in terms of the Constructors, and then just got better and better and better, then winning back-to-back Constructors' Championships and a Drivers' Championship for good measure, whilst Alpine just did the opposite, started ahead of McLaren in 2022, and then just slowly drifted down to finish P10 in the final season of the 2025 regulation, sort of 2022 to 2025 regulation cycle that we had. But I'm expecting good things from Lando Norris and Oscar Piastri. I think if we can get a few podiums here and there in the first, let's say, 8 races of the season, split the season into thirds, and then we do the whole, like, bring an upgrade package to maybe Spain, somewhere around there, We bring it in, then we start to get a little bit quicker, and then in the second half of the season, boom, that's when we rock it. That's when we become the best team again. Lando Norris wins a second Drivers' Championship in a row. Thank you, ma'am. I will take it from there. Although he's got to get past Max Verstappen again, who ran him so incredibly close. Like, Max Verstappen finishing second in the Drivers' Championship, Oscar Piastri third last year. Will Verstappen be that main man again? Will he be the title challenger this time? Or maybe just the front runner? Maybe he'll just go back to 2023 Max Verstappen era where he's just absolutely flying past everybody. Then there's George Russell. He finished 4th place last year, and he's the main man, isn't it? Stop dreaming. You gotta let me dream. You gotta let me dream. I had to wait so long to watch a McLaren driver win the Drivers' World Championship. Now you're telling me I can't believe again? Of course I'm going to believe. Of course I am going to believe. Love this channel. You give me so much F1 info. Thank you so much. Appreciate it. More to come. Lots more to come this season. No Norris. Yes, Oscar champion. I disagreed. Okay. I could take an Oscar Piastri championship. I'm not going to lie to you. I wouldn't mind that. Back-to-back championships. Please talk about 2012 Kimi Räikkönen. Love your work. Unfortunately, we did not make testing sloppy. I'm not sure that they mentioned winter slop at any point. But George Russell does seem like, well, at least the favourite for now, as much as it doesn't really mean much to be the favourite at this point. George Russell, fastest in free practice 3. That flying lap at the end of free practice 3 was stunning, let's face it. He does look connected with that Mercedes car. The Mercedes car looks the most grounded of the packages so far that we've seen across the three free practice sessions that we've seen so far this weekend. I think it's difficult to see past George Russell at this point just because of how everything has played out, not only throughout the winter break, but also throughout this weekend. And he feels like he's just kind of coming into that 4, isn't he? You know, last year, finished every single Grand Prix, was Mr. Consistent, just brilliant throughout the season. Only for me, beaten by Max Verstappen in terms of like quality of driving. I think George Russell was the second best driver throughout the 2025 season. And he's actually just getting better and better. Like, you go back to even 2022 when he first stepped into that Mercedes team, he was definitely sort of in Lewis Hamilton's shadow. Took a little while for him to get out of it. There was some sloppy driving at times where he was colliding with other drivers and definitely sort of making himself a bit of a reputation for a driver that you can quite often bump into if you go into a corner side by side with them. And then he sort of slowly, throughout 2023, looked even better, started to get those victories, started to really click with the Mercedes team. I think just needed some time to settle. 2024, much, much better. And 2025, absolutely brilliant, I would say, from George Russell. He feels like he's getting right towards the peak of his powers. And therefore, if given a championship-worthy car, that's why I just can't see past George Russell. Like, if that Mercedes car is quick, the only driver who's going to get in his way is Max Verstappen, and Max Verstappen is in a different team, and that team needs to be able to match the Mercedes in terms of output. Will Red Bull be able to do that? I'm not so sure. I think it's George Russell's to win if the Mercedes car obviously is the quickest, or even like the second quickest. I could see George Russell being the championship favourite still, because Ferrari are looking, Charles Leclerc finished 5th. Hamilton finished 6th last year. Are Ferrari going to be those guys? Are Ferrari going to be that team? I'm not so sure. Like, it's always, I wish they would be. And like, everybody loves Ferrari. I'm not a Ferrari fan, but I do like to see Ferrari do well. Everybody likes to see Ferrari do well. It's just good for Formula One. And I don't know. I just can't imagine a season where Charles Leclerc isn't miserable I think I've just gotten too used to Charles Leclerc being absolutely miserable at every single possible opportunity. But now Ferrari look great, and Ferrari were like catching the headlines, especially in Bahrain. I remember making that short about like the flipping rear wing and losing my mind. I remember seeing their race starts and the fact that even if Charles Leclerc or Lewis Hamilton can qualify like on the second row of the grid, they might even lead going into turn one here in Australia, because it is quite a big run down towards turn one. And their launches have just been ridiculous. So I want to believe in Ferrari. I want to believe the hype because of all the cool stuff that they've been doing so far this season. But I just can't. This is a part of me. And I think it's because I've been a Formula One fan, like predominantly in an era where Ferrari have always been like this nearly team. You know, I just missed out realistically on the Schumacher era. I was kind of right at the end of it. Even those, couple of years where Fernando Alonso won in Renault, I didn't really watch, if I'm perfectly honest. Like, I really got into Formula One around about the kind of 2008, 2009, where Lewis Hamilton was kind of at the fore. Lewis Hamilton won a championship. So obviously in the UK, that was a massive deal, a British driver winning the world championship. And for McLaren as well, like all of those things intertwined with me becoming a Formula One fan. So I haven't really seen Ferrari be, as I said, anything other than that nearly team, and the team that have put together race wins and consistent podiums and have had brilliant drivers in the shape of Sebastian Vettel, Fernando Alonso, Charles Leclerc, now Lewis Hamilton. Like, they have had some absolutely wonderful drivers, but they've never been able to deliver that championship. And I think there's just part of my mind that's just like, that's what Ferrari do. Like, they'll be pretty good and they'll finish third in the Constructors' Championship. Like, that's just what I'm expecting from Ferrari. And I can't get myself out of that headspace of not expecting it. Like, Ferrari could absolutely dominate this season and Ferrari could win the World Drivers' Championship and the Constructors' Championship. But until it's done, I don't know if I'm going to actually believe it. Like, until it's actually there and I can see the championship in Ferrari hands, I'm not so sure as of yet. Then we had Kimi Antonelli, who may not be taking part in qualifying. A big shunt for Kimi Antonelli towards the end of free practice 3. He finished 7th in the championship last year, but that Mercedes car is looking a lot quicker. Obviously, second season in the sport. Was going for a qualifying lap at the end of qualifying and just put that Mercedes car into the barriers. If you haven't seen it, I have made a short on it. Head over, watch that short, because the shorts, whenever I release a short during the Grand Prix weekend, it always flops. So if you could watch it, that would be absolutely amazing. It was a big shunt for Kimi Antonelli. Whether or not he'll be taking part in this qualifying will then also, have a big effect on where he starts tomorrow and what will he be able to achieve in this first race of the season, whether or not he'll be in the championship battle. I think he's just still a little bit too raw. You think Oscar Piastri, I know he was in the championship fight last year in his 3rd season in Formula One, but there was still parts where it felt like his inconsistencies and almost that lack of understanding of how Formula One works kind of fell away from him. And that second half of the season where he lost a bit of his form and couldn't find it back again. Antonelli is even younger and only in his 2nd season and like under a lot more pressure, I would say, because Mercedes are being linked to Max Verstappen left, right, and center. And after last year, there were question marks at points throughout the year. That stint where we went through like the European stint and people were like, should Mercedes even keep Antonelli in that seat? Maybe they need to look for another driver. And, there was talk about swapping Antonelli to a Williams seat or like doing some craziness like that. So I'm expecting big things from Kimi Antonelli this season, but I think we need to see a little bit more from him. And the crash in free practice 3 is not the best way to start his Formula One season in 2026. Then we had Albon and Sainz, 8th and 9th. Williams this season. Were we expecting them to be able to crack into that top 4? I mean, you could say Alex Albon technically has broken into the sort of top 4 teams there because he's finished in 8th place, displacing one of the Red Bull drivers who we'll get to in a moment. But Alex Albon there finishing 8th. Carlos Sainz finishing 9th. Sainz finished the season absolutely on fire last year. If he can carry some of that momentum into 2026, he will be just phenomenal once again. But I don't know. I feel like Carlos Sainz and the Williams team just haven't quite clicked yet. Came to a stop, did Carlos Sainz, in terms in free practice 3 in the entrance to the pit lane, like agonizingly close to getting back into the pits, but not quite there. Not applicable, Marty Supreme. I haven't actually seen Marty Supreme yet. I really want to, but I haven't. And that's distracted me. Where was I? Carlos Sainz, Williams. Missing Barcelona testing. It's pretty big, isn't it, for those Williams boys? And then, still being overweight. I think it's going to be another year where it's like, Williams were close, but I don't think they're going to break into that top 4 or anything like that. I think we'll see a Williams. Will we see a Williams on the podium again this year? I think that's more the question. It's like, can they sneak another podium at some point, like they did with Carlos Sainz towards the end of last season? Fernando Alonso finished in 10th place in the championship last year. Is he going to finish anywhere close to that this season? I don't think so. I thought about doing a video on the Aston Martin situation because it is just going from like bad to worse to absolutely horrendous to like, what on earth are they actually saying? Like, it's insane the fact that they've thrown so much money at this. They have Adrian Newey, they have Andy Cowell, they have Fernando Alonso, they have all of the pieces of just everything you would want to build your like dream Formula One team. Like, if you gave somebody a blank piece of paper and said, what do you need, or what do you think you need to win a championship? You can have anything you want. They'd be like, yep, new factory, new wind tunnel, brilliant aerodynamicist, brilliant driver. And it's like everything team that have, or engine supplier that have just literally won most of the races throughout the last couple of weekends, like the last regulation cycle. God, it is early in the morning. Like, everything seemed like it was absolutely perfect for Aston Martin to really click and like, okay, can they now be a top 3 team? Can they now start podiums consistently, wins consistently? And it has all just gone in the bin. Like, none of it works. They were late to Barcelona testing. The car didn't work in Bahrain testing. Then we get all of this news about how the car is just shaking itself to death. It is burning through batteries at a ridiculous rate, to the extent where they now have only 2 batteries, one for each car, available to them this weekend. So if those batteries die, that's it. It's over for Aston Martin before it's even really started. Like, the whole thing just doesn't work. The team didn't even visit the Honda factory until November last year, at which point they realized that the Honda power unit was nowhere near ready, and the Honda power unit is still absolutely woeful at this point in the year. Like, Aston Martin, it is a cataclysmic list of just error after error after error, problem after problem after problem. Everything has gone wrong in every single conceivable way. Like, it is absolutely ridiculous, the fact that Fernando Alonso and Aston Martin and all of this has just gone, right, here's your billions of dollars of investment. Let's just chuck that in the bin. Not worth it. Was absolutely just a waste of time. Talking of millions of dollars of investment, Audi have also come onto the grid, and there was sort of a few people connecting it to when like BMW took over Sauber. I think because it's big German supplier, BMW were able to turn Sauber into, well, with Robert Kubica, a championship-worthy team, and then they just kind of gave up halfway through the season. Ridiculous decision in hindsight, but it was what they did back then, when Robert Kubica was kind of clicking into gear with that BMW Sauber. And yeah, I don't think we're expecting big things from Audi this year. I know Nico Hülkenberg finished 11th, but Gabriel Bortoleto finished 19th last year. I think they will shuffle in. Like, I don't think they'll be the slowest. I don't think they'll be Cadillac levels of slow. Maybe second slowest. Aston Martin are kind of there right now, so you could then pop them above that. I think Audi are maybe like 8th place right now in terms of the Constructors' Championship, maybe 9th place in terms of the Constructors' Championship. I think that's where they will kind of sit. But considering Audi have come in and done it the hard way, like I know they're taking all the chassis and elements from Sauber, and they've got obviously Sauber's experience in Formula One to play off with as well. But on the flip side of that, they have made their own engine, their own gearbox. Like they are redesigning the car from the ground up. They're making it an Audi Works car straight off the bat. And that is like a big, big undertaking for a team to do. So like hats off to Audi. And I actually hope they do really well. Like I want to get one of the Audi jumpers. I know I try and wear the McLaren jumper as much as possible. But I do feel like it's like a second team. It's like a midfield choice. You know how much I love Gabriel Bortoleto. Maybe I'm kind of switching allegiances a little bit. I've kind of always been an RB lover. I've always liked the second Red Bull team. I think because when Pierre Gasly there, I was a big fan of Pierre Gasly. I kind of still am, but don't really want to support Alpine, if I'm honest with you. So I feel like Audi are kind of moving into that realm of like second favorite team for me. Just because of Gabriel Bortoleto and because I like how they work. Like I like the fact they've come in, they're doing it the hard way, and they're trying their best. But I also do really love Haas as well. Obviously, Ollie Behrman finished 13th place last year. Ocon finished 15th place. They always start a regulation cycle well, and now they've got the Toyota money. Maybe this season is the season where Haas kind of go, well, actually, they're not the newest team in Formula One anymore, so they can't use that. They are still the smallest team in Formula One in terms of personnel. So Behrman, Ocon, Haas, maybe this is the year, right? We kind of step out of the shadow of being F1's newest team, and we're now an established force on the Formula One grid. Ollie Behrman then carries them. I feel like Ollie Behrman picking up a podium this year would be stunning. Like if Ollie Behrman can get a podium, I'll lose my mind. I will absolutely love it. I think he deserves it. I cannot wait to see him in a Ferrari in a year's time or a couple of years' time, depending on how it goes and whether Lewis Hamilton wants to stick around for a little while. Like I think Ollie Behrman is brilliant and was so good at the end of last season as well. I think we're gonna move up in terms of Ollie Behrman's standings in terms of this season. Then we've got kind of the Red Bull duo, Hadjar and Lawson on the other side there. Well, Hadjar 12th, Lawson 14th. Hadjar now in Red Bull colours. Brilliant stuff from him. Like, was great last season. Deserved that step up, in my opinion. Lawson still in RB colours. You know, Yuki Tsunoda could have maybe slotted back in there, but they decided to stick with Lawson for now. And Arvid Lindblad joining the team as well. It's difficult to judge where RB are going to be, I think. I could see them sort of slotting in. I think they'll be, quicker than Aston, Cadillac, Audi, at least to begin with. But are they going to be like Haas levels of good? Maybe they'll be in the mix with Haas. Williams, we also don't really know where they're going to shuffle out into. I just never really know, because RB is such a weird establishment because they are the second Red Bull team. We know that they're never going to be able to like really propel themselves forwards. And yes, they have won races in the past under different names, and obviously Gasly's got that win. Vettel won for them all the way back in the day, but like that's kind of it. Then they never really jump that far forward. Oh, hello, Mr. Pulse. Mr. Pulse is in the chat. If you haven't seen Mr. Pulse's stuff, you need to head over. He did a brilliant breakdown, which I'm just stealing lots of the information from at post sort of free practices on Friday, which was great. But thank you, Mr. Pulse, for joining us. But yeah, Lawson, Lindblad, I think they'll shuffle in. If Lawson finished 14th last year, do I think he'll finish any higher than 14th this year? Probably not, if I'm honest. I think it'll be around about the same. Gasly and Colapinto. Gasly, I think, will have a much, much better season. I'm kind of hopeful for Alpine. I think Alpine, they're not top 4. I've said that I think Haas are kind of like the 5th fastest team. I could slot Alpine in a 6th place. I could see Alpine right now being the 6th fastest team overall on the grid. Like coming into this year, I think Gasly, if he can click with the new regulations, is a much better driver than we saw last year, or in terms of like the points total that we saw last year. He got into qualifying 3, 10 times. He got into qualifying 3 way more than a lot of the drivers that are ahead of him in terms of that driver's standings there. I think Gasly is going to have a brilliant season. And I think Alpine, now they've got rid of the Renault engine, which I know is kind of the whole point, really, is the fact that they were the Renault team and then they slightly rebranded because they wanted to try and sell some more Alpine cars. Whether or not that team will still be Alpine in the future, I still think they're sort of shuffling towards selling that team. But then we've been saying this for quite a few years and they're still holding on to it. Like, I thought they might sell to Audi at one point, but Audi ended up going for Sauber instead. I thought they might end up selling to Cadillac, but Cadillac decided to make their own team. Like, I feel like Alpine are just kind of sticking around for the sake of it at this point. And then at the bottom there, we have Bottas and Perez, the new additions to the grid. I'm just checking on the stream because I hadn't actually thought about it. Does Valtteri Bottas fit on the bottom of the screen there? No. Oh, no, he does on the main stream. On the short stream, I've just realized that the driver's standings is too big. There we go. Now you can see Valtteri Bottas and Sergio Perez's little faces. But they are back on the grid. Bottas returns. Obviously, he was sidelined after leaving Stake Sauber and was with Mercedes last year. Sergio Perez, the same, was technically still part of the Red Bull mix, but we never really saw him do anything for Red Bull, did we? I think they'd kind of cut ties fairly early last year. They're back on the grid now, and it's kind of the battle of the number twos, isn't it? It's, Valtteri Bottas was the number 2 to Lewis Hamilton when he was winning all of his titles at Mercedes. Sergio Perez was the number 2 to Max Verstappen whilst he was absolutely dominating the beginning of the last regulation cycle that we had in Formula One. Who is going to be the number 1 of the number 2s? I think Colton Herta, although he had an absolutely meh start to his season in Formula 2. I was watching the Formula 2 race earlier on just while setting things up, and it wasn't amazing from Colton Herta considering how much experience he has and moving over from IndyCar, but it was only the first race, and there's still lots of Formula 2 running to come. If they are going to put Colton Herta into that car, though, they've got to move out either Bottas or Perez. Obviously, Perez brings a little bit more money. We've all seen the Kit Kat car, which was brilliant. And then Valtteri Bottas, I think he's a little bit better. I think Valtteri Bottas might beat Sergio Perez in terms of the driver standing this year. I mean, beating Sergio Perez, what does that actually mean? It probably means finishing 21st rather than 22nd, and it probably means picking up maybe like a 13th or 12th place finish. Like, I'm not sure they're going to get points anywhere, but they probably will get moderately close to points, and he'll just have the higher finish of the 2 Cadillac drivers. But overall, I do think that actually Valtteri Bottas will have the better of the 2 Cadillac seasons. And that rounds out our 22 Formula 1 drivers for this season. Thoughts on the Kimi crash? I mean, it was a big shunt, a huge, huge shunt, especially only a few hours before qualifying. I know that the Mercedes team are rapidly trying to put that car back together again, but again, because we're so early on in this regulation cycle and because the cars are so dramatically different to what they were last year, the spares are going to be few and far between. And if they do have to change out things like the gearbox or have to change out any of the battery systems, which I think they might do because it was quite a big shunt and it was the rear end of the car which really took the impact to begin with, because he goes into turn 1, runs a little bit wide, just takes a little bit too much curb as he's making his way through turn 2, maybe gets on the throttle a little bit too much while still on the curb, then sends the rear end of the car spinning around, and from that point, he's just a passenger. The rear end of the car slams into the wall on the outside of turn 2, so much so that it then rebounds off of that and smashes towards the wall on the right-hand side as well. Like, it is crazy to me that is happening. Oh my God, Q1 has started? Oh, my stream was 5 minutes behind. Oops. There you go. I was still just yammering on. Q1 had actually started. I hadn't even seen Q1 started. My stream was 5 minutes behind and I hadn't even noticed. Dear, dear, dear. Thank you for letting me know in the chat. Oh, dude. Imagine. Look, I've been up since 1 a.m. Amazed the chassis survived that shunt. Yeah, me too, actually, to be fair. I'm impressed that it's still, well, I was going to say functioning. It's not a functioning car. At least there's pieces of that car they can still use, to be honest. Can you have a shout out? Of course you can. Arrow Potato Edit. Gabriel Bortoletto goes quickest. Right, let's get into this. Oh my God, thank you for the super chat as well. I've just seen the super chat come through. Here we go. Gabriel Bortoletto quickest. Oscar Piastri second fastest at the moment. Lewis Hamilton third. Lindblad is half a second down in fourth spot. I think a lot of teams probably just trying to get a time on the board more than anything else, if I'm honest. Just hide the driver radio. I don't think that's going to work this weekend. George Russell, though, goes 2.5 tenths quicker through the first sector than anybody else in his Mercedes car. Absolutely flying in Formula One at the moment, George Russell. As I say, just needs to carry that momentum from 2025 into 2026 because he was stunningly quick last year. And if he can do that and Mercedes can deliver him a championship-worthy car, I'm sure we could see another British driver win their first Drivers' World Championship after Lando Norris managed to do it last season. A little bit of traffic for these cars, though, starting to get busy out on track. You can see 22 cars, another couple to contend with, and it is not the longest circuit on the Formula One calendar by any stretch of the imagination, as George Russell now comes across the line and goes quickest of anybody. George Russell, a 19.840. Charles Leclerc can only go fourth fastest, but on the medium tyre, the Ferrari car there. Interestingly, for qualifying, if you missed my short yesterday, they have confirmed that the power output of the cars is lowered for qualifying. So rather than having the 8.5 megajoules of energy that they can use from the battery per lap, in qualifying, that is dropped to 7 megajoules per lap. So we should see the drivers absolutely pushing to the limits and not having to like lift and coast or anything like that. So I'm looking for that kind of thing as well, because we've got to remember these are brand new regulations. There's going to be things that Formula One are looking at and looking into that we need to know how it's going to affect qualifying for the rest of the season. Here comes Nico Hülkenberg in his Audi car and goes 1.2 seconds off the pace, stays 8th fastest overall, but is still ahead of the likes of Behrman and Ocon, 1.4 seconds off the pace, down in 10th and 11th place. And are we starting to see the ridiculous speed of the Mercedes car that we were a little bit worried might come to the fore? George Russell, a 119.8. Isaac Hadjar's Red Bull, the closest to him, but 6 tenths of a second down. And Arvid Lindblad, though, has just set the fastest middle sector of anybody, the rookie, coming into his first season in Formula One. Doesn't have the benefit of the rookies last year of being part of a pack. He is the only driver to join the 2026 Formula One grid, replacing Yuki Tsunoda. Obviously, Isaac Hadjar slotting up into the main Red Bull team. Liam Lawson staying in the sister team. And Arvid Lindblad taking that 4th Red Bull slot and putting himself... I forgot that the finish line is a little bit further down the straight. Putting himself up into 2nd place. And 5.5 tenths off the lap time of George Russell. Lewis Hamilton still 3 tenths of a second down. Lando Norris isn't improving through the middle sector. Oscar Piastri also fighting with his McLaren car, not able to improve in that second part of the lap either. And we are looking at George Russell at the top of the timing sheets. Lindblad has had a fantastic weekend so far. Lindblad's been brilliant. Yep. Cannot fault him at any point so far this weekend. Has been just or has done everything that he needs to do, right? And if he is going to be the eventual Max Verstappen replacement, which is kind of where you have to see yourself, right? If you're in that second Red Bull team, he's young, he's raw, but he is incredibly talented. Is he going to be able to slot in when Max Verstappen eventually leaves and just races GT3 cars? Because that's what he prefers to do. We'll have to wait and see. Charles Leclerc coming around the final corner for Ferrari. Improved in the first and second sector. Neither sector purple, though, and does slot into that second place spot. Oh, as there's a big spin. And I think that's Isaac Hadjar. Or is it Max Verstappen? It was a Red Bull car now covered in dust. And it was Max Verstappen. His first flying lap of the 2026 season, and Max Verstappen is out, and that's going to be a red flag with 7 minutes and 29 seconds on the clock. If you were going to ask me which driver was going to cause a red flag in Q1, I would have said 21 drivers before I said the words Max Verstappen. And he is into the barriers, the Dutchman out of the first qualifying session of the season. And he's going to be starting, well, in 22nd place tomorrow in that Red Bull car. Let's see if we can find out what happened then. Max Verstappen going down towards turn 1, crosses the start-finish line, obviously at full speed, in straight mode, and just loses it. Did he touch the white line or something? I think just as he's hit the brakes, something's gone wrong inside of that Red Bull car. That is so out of the ordinary. There is no way that Max Verstappen has made that big of an error, because it looks like he hits the brake pedal and the whole car just completely locks itself. Everything, like the whole car just completely unstabilizes itself as soon as he hits the brake pedal. Yeah, locked on the rear axle is what Max Verstappen says over the radio. GP, very nonchalant from GP. Just checking in on Max Verstappen there. Huge shunt into the barriers at turn 1. And Max Verstappen actually looks at his hand as he's jumping out of the car. Okay, thankfully, looks at the other hand as well. I was worried that that was going to be a Daniel Ricciardo style situation where he'd done some damage to himself, but looks like he was just actually checking if his hands were both okay. Max Verstappen then causes the red flag, 7 minutes, 29 seconds on the clock. And yeah, that looks like an error with the car as opposed to an error with Max Verstappen, as I think we would expect. As I just said, like, if you ask me, predict who's going to cause like the first crash of I suppose the first crash of the Formula 1 season's already gone to Kimi Antonelli. The first crash of qualifying in 2026, I would have said literally every other driver before I got to Max Verstappen in that list. But there it is. A slow start to the season once again for Max Verstappen. Remember back in 2025, last year, he was not having the best of times in that Red Bull car until sort of got to the summer break and then really clicked into gear. Suddenly found himself in a championship battle once again. Is it going to be the same for Max Verstappen this season? You might remember also right back to the beginning of 2022, when both of the Red Bull cars faltered in Bahrain. So there was a double DNF for them in the first race of the season there. So Max Verstappen starting a new regulation cycle just clearly isn't for him. He just doesn't click with a new car. Obviously, it was a technical fault back in 2022, a technical fault again here by the looks of things. And he is out of the car onto a moped, and he will make his way back to the grid. Max just wanted to help Kimi with a chance to get out on track. Yeah, it'd be interesting. Well, it'd be interesting to see both of those guys obviously right at the back of the pack, looking like Verstappen will be 21st, Antonelli 22nd. So it's going to be an interesting little battle for them, isn't it? It will almost be quite interesting to see how much progress they can make, right? And it will really put the overtaking of these cars to the test. Can Max Verstappen who, let's face it, is the best driver on the Formula One grid at the moment. Can he make his way through the grid, or is he going to get stuck in traffic in these new 2026 regulation cars? Like, it's going to be a big, big test for the 2026 regulations and allow us to properly see what Max Verstappen is capable of and what these 2026 cars are capable of. So, is there actually a positive to take away from this? Not if you're a Max Verstappen fan. I think if you're a neutral Formula One fan, seeing Max Verstappen start on the back row of the grid could actually be one of the more entertaining and one of the more interesting things that could have happened this weekend. Although assuming that that Red Bull car can, first of all, be put back together again. Didn't look like a big shunt in the end, just the front wing of the car dipping into the Tech Pro barriers, so should be all fine in terms of putting that car back together. And hopefully the damage that, or whatever went wrong at the back of that car with either the engine or the rear axle or the brakes, something has gone wrong, possibly the MGUK. Yeah, it's all gone wrong. Sorry, I'm just looking at the crash again. I think, knowing that Max Verstappen will likely start at the back of the grid, very, very interesting indeed. And we have got an update. Q1 will resume at 16:19 local time. So cars starting to make their way onto the grid. And actually, Kimi Antonelli, that red flag, has given him an opportunity to get involved. Kimi Antonelli's Mercedes car is out in the pit lane. Q1 will resume in 3 minutes' time. What happened? There's a red flag. There is indeed a red flag. Max Verstappen, the culprit, is now making his way back to the Red Bull garage, and Max Verstappen dropping out of qualifying. A big lockup for the Dutchman, and now makes his way to the back of the grid. And actually will start 22nd if Kimi Antonelli can put in a flying lap time. Of course, assuming that there won't be any more collisions before we get underway. There was no flying lap time from Max Verstappen, though. Looking at the lap times, Isaac Hadjar 6th fastest at the moment in his Red Bull car. So is the Red Bull pace, up there with the Mercedes, the Ferraris, the McLarens? Looks like it's Hadjar currently ahead of Lando Norris, just behind Lewis Hamilton. But Arvid Lindblad still in 4th place, maybe just showing the second Red Bull team, maybe the quicker car, as it kind of was at the beginning of last season, wasn't it? It felt like at times that second Red Bull team actually had the quicker of the two Red Bull packages. Obviously wasn't the case when Max Verstappen started putting in podium finishes and winning races, but there were moments, let's say, in 2025 where that second Red Bull car did look the quicker of the two. I'm so weak. There was a Ferrari fan wearing clown makeup in the crowd. Was there actually? Horrendous from them. You can't get away with that. We are 1 minute away then from the start of qualifying once again. We have got 7 minutes and 29 seconds on the clock. George Russell currently the fastest car out on track. Charles Leclerc second, Piastri third, Arvid Lindblad fourth. And we're mainly looking at that bottom 5, really. Sorry, bottom 6. God, I'm going to have to get used to saying that. The bottom 6 in Q1. We know that Max Verstappen is going to be part of it. Antonelli, Sainz, and Stroll also yet to set a time. And then those 2 Cadillac cars, which we're expecting to be down there. Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas currently sitting in 17th and 18th place. It is going to be that bottom 6 that we are keeping our eye on, really. Qualifying about to get underway once again, and Q1 has indeed resumed. Lando Norris going to be the first man out on track for McLaren, the current championship leader, also leading the pack back out onto track once again. Arvid Lindblad just behind him. Liam Lawson is much more experienced teammate, has to be said, although it is only his second full season in Formula One. Liam Lawson with some cameo appearances in seasons gone by. His first full year with just the same team, hopefully. unless he gets the swap back into a Red Bull seat at some point. Started the year with Red Bull last season and then swapped over to RB. Let's hope that he just gets 24 races in one team. I'm sure he'd benefit from that. Oscar Piastri makes his way out as well. George Russell wants another flying lap despite being fastest. Ocon and Behrman making their way out of the pits. We're seeing Alex Albon there too. Hamilton and Leclerc in the pit lane. Kimi Antonelli is indeed there as well. 6 minutes on the clock then. It's going to be busy this final part of Q1. There's quite a bit of traffic for the drivers to contend with. Lando Norris just coming around the final sector now. He's coming around turn 12. And Carlos Sainz still not coming out on track. Obviously came to a stop at the end of free practice 3, did Carlos Sainz, and there was a big problem with the power unit there of his Williams car. Now looking even worse because he is not running at the moment. So Carlos Sainz likely to join Max Verstappen as 2 drivers yet to set a lap time. Lance Stroll still yet to set a lap time as well. Fernando Alonso is actually in a position to make it through to Q2 at the moment, considering 16th fastest at the moment. But as I say, we haven't yet seen a lap from Antonelli. And then actually we've got Verstappen, Sainz and Stroll who likely won't set a lap. So Alonso's only got to really outdo Perez, Bottas and maybe a Colapinto or an Albon to get himself through into Q2, which would be staggering considering how bad that Aston Martin car looks out on track. Arvid Lindblad did not improve in that first sector or the second sector and is a second down on George Russell's time as he comes through the middle part of the lap. Are we going to see some ridiculous gaps between the best and the rest? Because, my goodness me, it's still a good few tenths of a second between quite a lot of these teams. Ooh, we have got driver radio transcriptions for the first time. Should I pop them up? Here we go. As Liam Lawson comes across the line in the other RB car. He's 9th fastest at the moment. Kimi Antonelli noted for a pit lane infringement. You can see he just popped up in the investigations as Lewis Hamilton goes purple in the first sector. A 27.9 from the Ferrari car. He's still on the medium tyres, is Lewis Hamilton. Kimi Antonelli is going quick through the middle sector as well. Will definitely get himself out of that bottom 6 as long as he completes the lap. But here comes Lewis Hamilton. Let's go and have a little look at this Ferrari time, and it is a very, very good from Lewis Hamilton. He goes quickest of anybody by 0.03 of a second. Well, maybe, just maybe, Ferrari are really in it. They're on the medium tyre at the minute, remember? Hamilton goes fastest of anybody. George Russell is improving, though. It's fastest in the first and second sectors now from George Russell. He's 0.2 up on his previous lap time. So just needs a clean final sector, and he will retake that provisional pole position spot from Lewis Hamilton with just over 2 minutes to run in Q1. Watching Oscar Piastri, though, the home driver, coming around the final corner and across the line. And Oscar Piastri improves to go second fastest as George Russell is clearly going to take the fastest lap and does indeed. Piastri a 10.5 slower. Hamilton third fastest then. Antonelli has indeed finished his lap. It's gone 4th fastest overall. And Toto Wolff, a little smug look at the camera there. I think he's very optimistic at what his drivers can achieve in this first season under the new regulations. as Charles Leclerc goes very, very deep into turn 3. And that'll be a lap that he gives up on there. Coming back into the pits. Back down into that bottom 6 then. It is Colapinto, Perez and Bottas still down there. All 3 of those guys out on track. Valtteri Bottas just coming across the start-finish line now. Sergio Perez following him. Verstappen out of this. Carlos Sainz isn't going to set a flying lap time. Neither is Lance Stroll. So Sainz and Stroll actually never made it out of the garage. And then Max Verstappen sending his car into a spin down in towards turn 1, causing that red flag 6 minutes ago. Well, 6 minutes of race time ago. Arvid Lindblad coming across the start-finish line once again. Doesn't improve. Stays 7th fastest. Isaac Hadjar, though, is one to keep an eye on as the only Red Bull still flying out on track. Currently 8th fastest at the moment and actually behind the rookie Arvid Lindblad. Let's see what Isaac Hadjar can achieve. It's pretty good through the first and second sectors. Fernando Alonso improving. Sergio Perez improving. Oh, this is going to be pretty tight. Between Alonso, Perez, Bottas. See where Colapinto is as well. Colapinto's just coming around the final corner. And Isaac Hadjar improves to the 5th fastest car out on track. Here comes Alonso. Does improve, but stays 16th fastest. Oh, it's going to be right in that elimination zone. Colapinto. Bottas improves, goes quicker than Perez, but Perez stays down there. And Bottas and Perez nowhere near kind of the flying lap times of the cars ahead. A second down on everybody else, really. Franco Colapinto did not improve either. Stays 17th. So it is going to be Franco Colapinto who joins Sergio Perez and Valtteri Bottas as the drivers who completed laps and then dropped out in Q1. Max Verstappen was not able to set a flying lap time. His Red Bull car coming to a stop after he's sent it into a spin down towards turn 1. Carlos Sainz and Lance Stroll never made it out of the garage. So Fernando Alonso in an Aston Martin car that doesn't work has managed to get himself into Q2. Just will not be beaten, the Spaniard. And up into Q2, 16th place. He was 0.5 of a second behind Pierre Gasly, who's also now going to improve on that lap time. And Gasly actually now puts Fernando Alonso 0.7 of a second behind Ollie Behrman, who was in 15th place, as Gasly moves up into 14th. Oh, Colapinto does improve. He was on a lap. I thought he was over. I'm sorry, Fernando. It's all out of time. I'm sorry, Fernando. You're out. Colapinto improves. I thought he was done and dusted. The Alpines leaving it super late. I thought Gasly was going to be the last car across the finish line. Didn't even see Colapinto sneak over the start-finish line just in time to put in another flying lap. And Fernando Alonso, scratch everything I just said for the past couple of minutes. Alonso is out. And Kimi Antonelli over the radio. Thanks his engineers. Thanks his team. They have done a stunning job to get that car out on track. The Mercedes was in pieces when it came to the end of free practice 3. Scattered all over turn 2. And now back out on track. 6th fastest in that session. And now is able to continue and possibly fight for pole position. Lindblad doing pretty good. Very good from Lindblad. Must be the vibration. Yeah, it's not looking great if you're a Fernando Alonso fan, is it? I was just about to say had done a brilliant job managing to get that through to Q2. But actually, no. Sergio Perez also sort of congratulating his team, but not in as nice a fashion as Kimi Antonelli, saying obviously it's been a long road to get to this point. And Valtteri Bottas a lot nicer over the radio, sort of saying, you know what, guys, we're starting at the back, yes, but the positive is the only way is up. We can only improve from this point. And he's kind of right. But also, we'll probably see, well, hopefully Max Verstappen qualify better next time. And then also the likes of Carlos Sainz maybe get out on track next time. Lance Stroll's always a bit of a 50-50. But I feel like it's going to be maybe a couple of steps backwards for Valtteri Bottas next week. But we'll have to wait and see. What happened to Max? Max has just sent the car spinning, unfortunately, locked up. Wow, I don't really know what's happened. We need some insight, really, from Max Verstappen, to be honest. But he was going down towards turn one. Soon as he got on the brakes, the whole rear axle just kind of locked itself, sent the car into a spin, and just a passenger from that point, into the gravel he went, over the gravel, into the barriers on the sort of just straight ahead of you from turn one. Didn't really turn into turn one, just went straight through into the barriers and out of qualifying before he was able to really set a flying lap time. Cadillac are going to score points on debut tomorrow. Have you just watched the same qualifying as I have? they were 3 seconds off the pace. 3 seconds. Do you think there's more to come? Can we see the sec? Oh, yeah, I forgot to put the sectors on. That's a great point. Oh, I don't know if I can do the sectors anymore. Because that was a different thing. Let me try. There's a very good point. Again, you guys are basically just going to have to carry me through this stream because, my goodness me, I am absolutely dead. Full week at work and then 3 hours sleep last night before I had to get up and start doing this. The things I do for you guys must be appreciated. And therefore, during this ad break, I would like you to go and watch all of the shorts that I released yesterday and the short that I released today. Just all 4 of them. Take you 4 minutes. I'd like you to watch all 4 of them in full as a thank you. Show DRS zones. Show sectors. There we go. Boop. Here we go. You're going to see some SkyPad footage of the Max Verstappen issue. Let's see what actually happens then. So is it the MGUK? It's a little bit of a... No idea how I do this without caffeine. Performance-enhancing drugs are not allowed in professional sport, Mr. V. Mr. V? Mr. Pulse? Why do you both have to have Mr. in your names? It's very easy to get you mixed up. Yeah, it was not Max Verstappen's fault. Looking at it from the onboard as well, you can see that he almost gives up halfway through the crash. He's like, for God's sake. Yeah, he's nowhere near the white line or the grass or anything. That was one suspicion that we had. But he's just the whole rear end has locked itself as he's under braking and sent itself into a spin. I would have been sleeping if I didn't commit to F1. That's part of being a Formula One fan, Part of being a Formula One fan is also having to be nocturnal at points throughout the year. Getting up for getting up for FP3 this morning was not a happy time for myself. Would much rather still be in bed. But then the cars get out on track. I'll be honest with you, I was pretty miserable. But now I'm absolutely rocking it. I'm like, this is where I want to be. As we head into Q2, 15 minutes on the board, 14 minutes and 40 seconds left to run. Ooh, hang on. Just realized if I do the sectors, I need to reset this. Give that 20 seconds. The track map will freeze just for like 30 seconds. But no one's on a flying lap yet. Lewis Hamilton's just making his way around turn 8. Charles Leclerc around turn 6. A few of the cars coming out on track. But there's nothing to be worried about. Give it 10 more seconds to just catch up with itself. Audi color on my graphics. Probably the one you're using for Cadillac. Cadillac should be black and white. I do not set the colors. Apologies. This is all sponsored, or not really sponsored, but partnered with Multiviewer. Look at this lovely hat I have. Partnered with Multiviewer. Multiviewer supply us with all of the statistics and live information for everything that you can see. So all of the radio transcriptions, all of the track maps, all of the data, all comes through Multiviewer. They are lovely, lovely people. We work for them. We work with them. They are brilliant. Lewis Hamilton is going to get us underway, though. The first flying lap of Q2. George Russell still in the pits. Isaac Hadjar the same, but everybody slowly making their way out as George Russell does indeed join the track. So Isaac Hadjar, the last man to come. Lewis Hamilton is going to be the first across the start-finish line, having to contend with a little bit of traffic as Hamilton makes his way past Gabriel Bortoleto. Hulkenberg going very slowly indeed through turn 3 and turn 4. Slightly concerned by that. Maybe he was just moving out of the way of Esteban Ocon, who's on a flying lap. I hope so. George Russell, though, catching up to the back of Nico Hulkenberg as well. Not sure what Hulkenberg's aiming for here. It's going very slowly. And Lewis Hamilton is also going very, very slowly and has actually abandoned that flying lap as Charles Leclerc goes past his teammate. And Leclerc now is going to be the first man to start a flying lap time, or to set a flying lap time. Round turn 13 he comes. One more corner to go, and Charles Leclerc is going to set the standard. And it is a 120 dead from Charles Leclerc. Not bad at all. Lando Norris not going very fast at all. Get some blue flags waved at him. So clearly going to have to let somebody go by. It's a slow car up ahead. It's actually George Russell who's ahead of Lando Norris. Russell now coming down the pit straight is going to start his first flying lap of Q2. He's the man to watch. Fastest last time around. And again, we're looking at that bottom 6. So 11th place down to 16th will drop out in Q2, meaning Q3 will still be a top 10 shootout as it was last season. Pastry for pole, I would love that. Oh, Kimi Antonelli, though, has gone purple through the second sector. The Italian driver, even with that collision with the wall, is not holding back now he's in qualifying. I always think of that, like, Formula 1 drivers, their ability to just shake off a crash is insane. Like Kimi Antonelli, that crash, because the medical car was automatically sent out. So when the drivers crash, they have a little detector inside of the car. And if it's over 25G, the medical car is sent out automatically. So that crash earlier on that Kimi Antonelli had was over 25G, the acceleration that he would have felt in his body. And he's just shaking it off, and now he's setting the fastest lap time of anybody so far in this session, a 119.6. Just insane. Like the mentality that these drivers have that's like, oh, well, I know that I nearly killed myself, but let's just go again. Let's just go and almost kill myself one more time. Here we go then. George Russell round the final corner. Goes fastest. Is an 18.9 from George Russell. 6.5 tenths of a second quicker than his own teammate. The Mercedes cars look like the ones to beat once again as Lando Norris goes third fastest of anybody. Still a second off the lap time of George Russell, though. Arvid Lindblad and Liam Lawson making their way down the pit straight. Lindblad in 4th place. Liam Lawson comes across the start-finish line and goes 6th fastest. So Lindblad actually a couple of tenths quicker than his more experienced teammate. Isaac Hadjar, the remaining Red Bull, coming around the final corner. And Isaac Hadjar goes 3rd fastest of anybody, as Lewis Hamilton also goes fastest in the 1st sector. Hamilton then slow in the 2nd sector. Oh, no, sorry, he's improved in the 2nd sector. Popped up the wrong thing on my timing sheet there, but Hamilton improving. Hamilton having to deal with quite a lot of traffic as well, though, as Oscar... Oh, sorry, is Kimi Antonelli. I think that was Oscar Piastri he had to go past. Let's have a little look. Oh, locks up into turn 13. Does Kimi Antonelli just about kept that Mercedes car going, but that's where he lost quite a lot of that time. That dropped him behind his teammate. Oh, and Lewis Hamilton has been told to pit by the looks of things. Hamilton's Ferrari making its way down the pit lane, has to stop at the weighbridge, which is not what the Ferrari team would have wanted. And now has to rejoin, drive down the pit lane, and a swap of tyres possibly for Lewis Hamilton, because he's yet to set a flying lap time. Lap times have been deleted by Alex Albon. And also a lap time deleted for Lewis Hamilton. So that might have been why he gave up on that lap. But Hamilton, 16th place at the moment for him. No time set. Colapinto and Albon just ahead. Gasly, Behrman, Hulkenberg, the other 3 down in that bottom 6. Bortoletto and Ocon up there in the top 10. Both of the RB cars as well. And then the kind of expected drivers. You got your 2 Mercedes cars. You got your 2 McLaren cars. You got a Isaac Hadjar. Usually it's one Red Bull. It's usually the other Red Bull, though, isn't it? That is in that top 10. But Isaac Hadjar being the one Red Bull that normally makes it through to Q3. That's how 2026, starting as 2025 ended, with one Red Bull in Q3. Then we've got 2 RBs. The RB car's looking much quicker than I was expecting, actually. Like, I hold my hands up. I thought maybe Alpine or Haas would be quicker than the RBs, but RB coming out swinging. Lindblad and Lawson up into the top 10. And then Audi have themselves a driver in the top 10 again. I sort of underestimated Audi a little bit. I was overestimating Haas and Alpine, maybe underestimating RB and Audi, if I'm honest, in terms of where they would sit in terms of the standings at the moment, but still got 6 minutes on the clock. Still got some time to come. And Lewis Hamilton's car is in the garage. The Ferrari with some new tyres going on. And coming out of the garage sooner rather than later is indeed Lewis Hamilton. Just under 6 minutes on the clock then. And more than enough time for the Ferrari of Lewis Hamilton to get in a flying lap. Just need it to be fairly clean and fairly quick from Lewis Hamilton. You underestimated Audi as well, Sarah. Right about Cadillac. I think everybody knew Cadillac was just going to be the slowest. If they came into this race and they were anything but the slowest, it would have been ridiculous, because their car is so much more simplistic because they've had to work literally from the ground up. Like, Audi have worked from the ground up to an extent, but they've had all of the like Sauber learnings to lean on. Cadillac have had nothing to lean on. Like, they've just had to do it. And I know that they're using some Ferrari unit, some Ferrari bits and pieces, like the Ferrari power unit and stuff, but still, they've had to do it all from the ground up. Whereas Audi have had at least a little bit of a helping hand from Sauber. Audi, though, looking way quicker than I was expecting. I thought we'd see both of the Audis. Actually, I thought we'd see maybe one of the Audis drop out in Q1 and then one of the Audis drop out in Q2. But obviously, with those 3 cars not taking part, like Verstappen, Sainz, and Stroll, To be fair, Stroll I was expecting to drop out in Q1 anyway, but Verstappen and Sainz I was expecting to get through to Q2. So Audi very much outdoing my expectations, to be honest. Colapinto slower than I was expecting. Gasly slower than I was expecting as well, to be honest, at this point. You know, so good in qualifying last season. Thank you to the new subscribers. We are trying to hit 200,000 subscribers this season on the channel. I think it is certainly doable, but I'm going to need all of your help to be able to do so. If you're not subscribed to the channel, please do. We are live every single race weekend for qualifying, for the race, and then obviously sprint weekends for sprint qualifying, for sprint races as well. There's 6 to come. There's one next weekend in China already running at us in this 2026 season. Please do subscribe, and constant Formula One content coming your way. Do you think McLaren would prefer Piastri to win? No. I think either driver to win would just be great for them this weekend, to be honest. I don't think they'll have too much of a preference on it. I think obviously a home win for Piastri would be great, but also a win for their Drivers' World Champion in a new season under new regulations would also be great. Nico Hülkenberg then gets himself into 9th spot. We're watching Max Verstappen, who has finally made his way back to the paddock for Red Bull. And Kimi Antonelli not improving through the first and second sectors. George Russell actually fastest of anybody through the first sector on his most recent flying lap, but then a little bit of a scruffy middle part of the lap from George Russell. See if Kimi Antonelli does improve. He does, finds a 10th or so. Goes up into second place, 0.5 of a second behind George Russell still, though. Does George Russell find any time? It was an 18.9, stays at an 18.9. Doesn't improve. Oscar Piastri does improve, but still stays sort of 0.6 off the front running Mercedes car. Here comes Lando Norris then. Can he get anywhere close to Oscar Piastri's time? No. Stays 5th fastest for Lando Norris and does not improve. Lewis Hamilton has got himself out of that bottom 6. He's now 6th fastest. Lindblad, Leclerc, Lawson up there in that top 10. And Nico Hülkenberg is the final man in the top 10 positions. Bortoleto, Ocon, Gasly, Behrman, Albon, and Colapinto, the 6 drivers, looking to improve if they want to take part in the final part of qualifying here for the first round of the 2026 Formula One season. What happened to Max and Carlos? Max crashed. Carlos never made it out of the garage. So both of them having a pretty terrible time of it at this point. Charles Leclerc then trying to improve for Ferrari. He's kind of on the bubble, but the lap times are quite broad at this point. 0.3 of a second separating Charles Leclerc and Gabriel Bortoleto at this moment in time. Will Bortoleto be able to find 0.3 of a second to knock out Charles Leclerc? Not so sure. Hülkenberg would also have to find a couple of attempts, and Lawson would have to find a couple of attempts too. So Charles Leclerc, even though he's in 8th place, looking fairly safe, but not happy with that at Ferrari at the moment. Coming across the line to try and improve, and will. But where will he slot in? It's 2nd fastest for Charles Leclerc. 0.4 of a second behind George Russell, but ahead of Kimi Antonelli in the other Mercedes car. Isaac Hadjar also improving through the middle sector. Did go a little bit slower than his previous time through the first sector, though. Isaac Hadjar is the 5th fastest man out on track. Franco Colapinto trying to improve in his Alpine as well, just following Isaac Hadjar and Alex Albon around. Stays 5th fastest as Isaac Hadjar. Franco Colapinto comes across the start-finish line and doesn't really achieve too much. Pierre Gasly also not going ridiculously quick in his Alpine either through Sector 2. Did improve through Sector 1, but just marginally. And Gabriel Bortoleto has just improved to put himself into the top 10. And Nico Hülkenberg has already taken the checkered flag. So Hülkenberg is going to be out. So is Alex Albon, who has made his way into the pit lane. Here comes Pierre Gasly then to try and get his Alpine into Q3. Managed it a good few times last season. Doesn't manage it this time around. Behrman and Ocon also in 12th and 13th for Haas. And there you go. It is kind of the usual suspects in terms of the top 7. How we expected. The Mercedes, the Ferraris, the McLarens, a single Red Bull. But then the 3 behind that. Oh, there's Alex Albon. Goes for a little dip into the gravel and across the grass at turn 1. But the 3 behind that inside of the top 10. 2 RB cars, Lindblad and Lawson. I suppose RB do generally start the season quite well. I'm thinking back to Yuki Tsunoda at the beginning of last season. Did have a good couple of races, I should say, before he then got, obviously, the step up into the main Red Bull team. And obviously, Isaac Hadjar did shine more so in the first part of the season, I would say, apart from the crash in Australia, but more so in the first part of the season rather than the second half of the season, you could say, for Isaac Hadjar. So I suppose Racing Bulls do start the season generally a little bit better. But I wasn't expecting that. Or nor was I expecting the Audis to be up there. Sort of RB and Audi outperforming Haas and Alpine was not where I expected them to be. If you flipped them around and you had Bortoleto and Hulkenberg where the Alpines are, and then RB where the Haas's are, that's kind of more what I expected. But that just goes to show that midfield pack, very difficult to call and can swap pretty dramatically depending on circuit to circuit, race to race. And there we are. Gabriel Bortoleto, first Q3 appearance of the season. He joins Arvid Lindblad in his first Q3 appearance ever. It's his rookie debut race. And he's already made his way into Q3. Stunning from Arvid Lindblad. Hasn't really put a foot wrong this weekend yet. Let's hope that I don't jinx it. But hasn't really put a foot wrong yet this weekend as Arvid Lindblad. And then we have just ahead of him, Liam Lawson. Oh, no, sorry. Liam Lawson's behind Lindblad. Lindblad actually out-qualifying Liam Lawson. 9th place for Lawson then. And then it's Hamilton, Norris, Hadjar, Piastri, Antonelli, Leclerc, Russell in that order. George Russell still the man to beat. Bortoleto out of qualifying. What happened to Bortoleto? Lap time deleted? Did I miss it? Mine is saying that Bortoleto made it through. What happened to Bortoleto? Broken down before entering the pit lane. Oh, no. As if my Sky Sports has cut to a ad break, so I haven't seen that. Ah, that is so gutting for Bortoleto. Not even... I was praising Audi so much. I was praising Audi. They've done so well. And then a reliability issue puts it to the end. I think this is the other thing we have to watch out for tomorrow, right? That we haven't really talked about. As much as this qualifying matters, it might not matter that much because some of these cars are not going to make it through 58 laps of racing. I mean, a lot of these cars are not going to make it through 58 laps of racing. I think it's going to be a bit of a bloodbath tomorrow in terms of DNFs. So Gabriel Bortoleto now on the list of cars that have had problems this weekend. Oh my goodness. Gabriel Bortoleto trying his absolute best to get it down into the pits. Super slow moving. Liam Lawson actually trying to make his way past, but letting Bortoleto just kind of inch ahead of him. And then Lindblad gets very close. And Lindblad on the radio just explains to the team, he's like, I'm sorry, guys, but I've almost just absolutely killed myself. And my teammate. Luckily, they haven't. And Bortoleto has indeed come to a stop. So we'll have to wait and see what kind of issue start of Q3 will be delayed slightly then as they move Gabriel Bortoletto's car away from the entry of the pit lane. So Bortoletto is still through there, and I thought like Hulkenberg had overtaken him or something. So Hulkenberg and Bortoletto kind of out as such, but Bortoletto will still go down as a Q3 for him. He'll start in 10th place and inside of the point scoring places as well, vitally for this season, obviously. Getting those points on the board when you can, because we just don't know whether the cars are going to be able to like improve dramatically throughout the season. You know, Adrian Newey was talking about how he thinks the Aston Martin car could still be capable of like consistent points finishes by the second half of the year. So if he's right about that, which he could be, you know, never say never, then you have to get the points on the board when you've got them in front of you. And especially for a new team like Audi, getting your first points on the board in your first race would be absolutely amazing. But yeah, Bortoletto, although made it through, will not take part. So it's going to be 9 cars in Q3. Lindblad and Lawson, kind of the ones that maybe stand out as the best of the rest in the midfield. And then a 7-car shootout for pole position. Lando Norris, the current world champion, was 6th fastest in that one. I think maybe has the most time to find. Lewis Hamilton, we know, has more time inside of that Ferrari car. So just needs to click with it a little bit. I think maybe took it a little bit easy just to get a lap time in. Isaac Hadjar, 5th fastest. Piastri, 4th fastest in his home Grand Prix. Then it does feel like maybe they're the 3 to beat, doesn't it? Antonelli in the Mercedes, Leclerc in the Ferrari, and George Russell has been quickest of anybody in both qualifying sessions so far. FIA stewards, incident involving Hulkenberg and Bortoletto will be investigated after the session, failing to follow maximum delta time. I imagine that is to do with the fact that both of them were basically breaking down. So I don't imagine they'll get any kind of penalty for that. Although there was an incident for Pierre Gasly on an unsafe condition. Interesting. So I had to get them through. Poor Bortoletto, yeah, it's not his fault, like in any sense, the imagination. It's just one of those things that can happen. The Audi power unit did its best, got himself into Q3, and then just kind of spluttered to an end, unfortunately. Hadjar and Arvid doing great. Yeah, very true. I think the Red Bull team can just, like, apart from Max Verstappen's incident, I think, you know, Red Bull and RB, it's one of those things, like, I think Max Verstappen would have been in this fight had it not been for that lockup, right? It's not his fault. It's an issue with the car. But actually, all of the Red Bull cars look pretty decent at this point. 1 minute on the clock then before we get underway for the final part of qualifying. As I said before, if you haven't subscribed to the channel, please do hit that subscribe button. It really does help us out. If you're watching on Twitch, hit the follow button. And then if you are watching on YouTube Shorts, you can also hit that subscribe button as well. Trying to get to 200,000 subscribers by the end of the year. And, you know, whilst we're sort of waiting for a minute or so, why not check out one of the shorts from this weekend? Been shorts left, right, and center from me recently because there's just been so much going around. "20 seconds on the clock. It's going to be 13 minutes of Q3. It's been quite heavily delayed, really. You know, we had a delay to free practice because of a shunt in the F3 race. Then sort of a delay to the Formula 2 race as well that came from that. A red flag due to Max Verstappen in Q1. So we are quite a way behind where maybe the teams would have been expecting to be this weekend. But Piastri is going to lead us out at his home Grand Prix. Lawson and Lindblad following along in the RB cars. And then Hamilton comes out as well. Here we go. This is it. The final rundown. As we watch a little replay of Kimi Antonelli getting a little bit of a slide on in his Mercedes car as he was bringing it back to the pits at the end of Q2. It's a lovely little drift from Kimi Antonelli as he made his way through turn 4. George Russell, Isaac Hadjar, Lando Norris, and Gabriel Bortoleto all just making their way down the pit lane as well. Hadjar, Norris, and Bortoleto still inside of the pit lane. That's what I was trying to say. George Russell making his way to the end of it. Cool. The words are starting to get minced at this point. 6 a.m. here in the UK. Been up for 5 hours already. I'm surprised I'm still standing. George Russell, quickest in Q1, quickest in Q2. Can he go back to back to back and have it as the top driver heading into the first race of the season and nab that first pole position? Let's see then. Oscar Piastri comes across the start-finish line first of anybody and will set the first flying lap of anybody. Liam Lawson coming around turn 2. Arvid Lindblad starts his flying lap. Then it's Hamilton, then Leclerc, then Antonelli, and George Russell and Lando Norris at the back of the pack. Lando Norris fairly far adrift as well in his own little land. Isaac Hadjar and Gabriel Bortoleto yet to leave the pit lane. And in case you missed it, Hulkenberg, Behrman, Ocon, Gasly, Albon, and Colapinto were the 6 drivers to drop out in Q2. And then we had Alonso, Perez, Bottas, Verstappen, Sainz, and Stroll, who dropped out in the first part of qualifying. Lewis Hamilton making his way through the first sector. And looking at those first sector times, it's purple for Lewis Hamilton. Better than those cars that have come before him. George Russell, purple in the middle sector so far, although Kimi Antonelli now takes the fastest. Oh, and what is that? Looks like a cooling unit. Oh, it's got to be a red flag, I think. There's a part of a cooling system. Oh, it's left in. They've left in the right-hand side pod, they've left one of the attachments for the cooling system actually on the car. And it's fallen off. Oh, it must be both. They must have left both of them on then. Because that one came off as he went through turn 1. It has been red flagged now. It's Mercedes who have left their cooling vents inside of the car. Oh, and someone's hit that. Somebody has hit that vent that was on the track. There's one that is literally lodged in the gravel on the outside of turn 1. Or the inside of turn 2, you could say. And then I don't know who managed to hit the other piece. Lando Norris, I think. Yeah, Lando Norris ran over the fan that had come out of the Mercedes car. Did it damage the front wing? Oh, it was quite the impact. Obviously, it is just a piece of plastic, so it is going to absolutely obliterate when a Formula 1 car runs over it. But Lando Norris asking for that front left to be checked, and I mean, that is a little bit weird, isn't it? I suppose there's one on either side, so the one on the left ended up in the gravel is on the left-hand side, and then the one on the right maybe came out as they were going around, but Piastri, the only driver to set a flying lap, it's a 1:30 dead from Oscar Piastri, and then a red flag for the session, and I'm sure that somebody is going to get very, very told off at Mercedes, and there does seem to actually be maybe a little bit of a little nick on the front wing of Lando Norris's car, right on the left edge, where it would have come into contact with that piece of plastic. The McLaren engineers now making their way around to that part of the car and having a little look at it. But yeah, it's part of the cooling fans. So you'll see even on the McLaren car right now, those fans that go on into the car just keep the car cool while it's inside of the garage. Otherwise, the engine would overheat whilst it's stationary and inside. Because you've got to remember, the engine is used to being out on track and is designed to work out on track where air is flowing past it all of the time at incredibly high speeds. So they kind of, even when they get the car in the garage, they put those fans in to just make sure the air is continually flowing over the engine still and kind of cooling it down and keeping it at working temperature. And basically what's happened at Mercedes is Kimi Antonelli has come out of the garage with those fans, or at least part of the fans, still attached to the car. Like it's inside of both of the side pods. Whether it's done any damage to the Mercedes, that has a little bit been able to make its way through the side pod in any way into the Mercedes car, we'll have to wait and see. But part of it has made its way onto the track and has then been obliterated by Lando Norris's McLaren car. And there is Kimi Antonelli's car. Oh, and it must have been just the right-hand AirPod then, because they've got the cooler in the left-hand AirPod, but no cooler in the other side. And it's because they left part of it in the car and maybe don't have a replacement to hand. That is... just feels very silly. Just feels very silly from Mercedes. That's classic Formula One, isn't it? Like that is peak Formula One ridiculousness. It comes off and actually bounces off the wall. Spins its way onto the track. And then Lando Norris just comes along in his McLaren and bang, hits it with the front left tyre. And that is all she wrote for that piece. Hopefully Mercedes, have got a spare, because they're not putting that one back together again anytime soon. That is absolutely obliterated. And we are having a second red flag of the afternoon. And race control have said that we will resume at 17:10. So it is in 3 minutes' time. And they are now investigating that. Kimi Antonelli. Let's see what they've put under the investigations. Unsafe condition is what they have called that. The investigation that they are doing on Kimi Antonelli. Interesting that Lewis Hamilton's got so many track limits violations. Actually, 2 of them came on the same lap, so maybe that was just an abandoned lap and he was getting out of the way of everybody else. And Isaac Hadjar being told on the radio that he has got a great banker in terms of the outlap. Treat this as your banker. Oh, sorry. Treat this as your banker. Not a great. Treat this as your banker or get one more run. So some of the teams maybe just opting to, especially because they've, lost 4 minutes there effectively. Maybe just needing to get a lap time on the board. And then they've got one more run at a final flying lap. Isaac Hadjar being told over the radio that he thinks he's still going to get 2 flying laps at this 9 minutes and 47 seconds. And they are actually taking bits and pieces of that McLaren car apart and now taping part of that front wing back together again. So there was some damage done to the McLaren car of Lando Norris, and the engineers in McLaren are working incredibly quickly to try and get that car back out on track once again in the same condition, or at least similar condition to what they sent it out the first time. But you don't really want to be doing duct taping of your front wing with 40 seconds to run until you have to be out on track for the final part of qualifying. And it'll be interesting to see what that does to any kind of balance and if Lando Norris can feel any difference. Lando crashed. Technically, he crashed into an air intake little fan that was still attached to the Mercedes car of Kimi Antonelli. It then came off the Mercedes of Kimi Antonelli, and then Lando Norris, I wouldn't say crashed, more ran it over as he was making his way around turn 2. And Q3 then, back underway. The green light comes on, and it's Antonelli, the man who caused all of this, back out on track first and foremost. George Russell, his teammate behind. Isaac Hadjar third in the queue. Piastri, the only man yet to set a flying lap time, is next then. He's fourth in the queue to get himself out on track. And then the Ferraris of Hamilton and Leclerc also making their way out. Lando Norris has indeed, well, they've put some tape on the McLaren's front wing, so let's wait and see what kind of lap times Lando Norris can come up with. We then got Lindblad and Lawson also part of this. Gabriel Bortoleto did manage to make it through to Q3. His car did not make it back to the pit lane properly. I suppose did make it back to the pit lane. Didn't make it back to the garage. Came to a stop in the pit lane at the end of Q2. And therefore, Gabriel Bortoleto will not be setting a flying lap at this point. Tape, I know, feels like there should be like a more sophisticated fix. But it is literally just some duct tape that they put on the car. Sometimes the best cure is the easiest cure, you know? Just because something's simple doesn't mean it can't also be effective. And they have indeed taped up the front wing of that McLaren car. And here we go then. Kimi Antonelli is going to get us underway for this second round of Q3 qualifying. A red flag coming from an air intake that was attached to the Mercedes car, then being run over by Lando Norris. They quickly got their brushes out, and that's been swept away. And then Kimi Antonelli goes way too deep into turn 3. And that's not going to be a lap time worth talking about from him. George Russell, his teammate behind, manages to get through turn 3 in a lot more of a expected fashion. George Russell through the first sector then, quicker than Oscar Piastri's previous lap time. And, oh no, sorry, George Russell a little bit slower through that first part of the lap than I was expecting. Antonelli moving out of the way of his teammate. And George Russell quickest of anybody through the middle part of the lap. Although Piastri looking fairly good to improve on his lap time once again. So it's going to be a little bit of a tougher challenge for George Russell than maybe he made it look in Q1 and Q2. But there's more than enough time for George Russell to get another flying lap in if he would like one. Charles Leclerc and Lewis Hamilton just behind. Hadjar actually quickest of anybody through the middle part of the lap. Here comes Russell, a 19 dead. Isaac Hadjar behind him. Hadjar quickest in the middle sector. And his second quickest overall. It is 5.5 tenths of a second, though, between Hadjar and Russell. So a lot of time to find. Piastri stays third fastest. Leclerc and Hamilton then next. Leclerc puts himself third fastest. We know that obviously the Ferrari does launch pretty well off the start line. Maybe third fastest will be good enough for Charles Leclerc. Lewis Hamilton coming around the final corner. He's only fifth fastest overall, but Antonelli is starting to fall back down the order after not being able to set a flying lap time. Here comes Lando Norris. Lindblad and Lawson yet to come out too, and Lando Norris does go second fastest. It's by half a second though. Again, that gap between the Mercedes of George Russell and the rest of the pack seems staggering at this point. There's a lot of time to find if you're Lando Norris, Isaac Hadjar, Charles Leclerc, Oscar Piastri, or Lewis Hamilton. Leclerc, Piastri, and Hamilton over a second slower than George Russell's Mercedes. It's not looking good if you're anyone other than a George Russell or Mercedes fan. Kimi Antonelli, that mistake again down towards turn 3, locks that front right tyre and just can't get the rotation out of the car before sending it into the gravel on the opposite side of the track. And yeah, that's all she wrote really for that lap from Kimi Antonelli. Managed to put that car back together again after a big shunt 13 minutes from the end of free practice 3 earlier on to today. Lando Norris then making his way back into the pits, and that is going to be everybody back in the pit lane and no cars out on track for the moment. Isaac Hadjar getting a fresh set of rubber on his car. Kimi Antonelli deciding to get out there sooner rather than later. Again, Lindblad and Lawson yet to set a lap time as well. Lindblad coming out now. Lawson's going to join him. So it's going to be Antonelli, Lindblad, and then Lawson with 3 minutes and 55 seconds left to run. Now down to 3:40. But Russell, Norris, Hadjar, Leclerc, Piastri, Hamilton all in the pit lane at the moment. George Russell's going to be the next car to join them out on track. Antonelli, Lindblad, Lawson, and Russell out on track. Yeah, you can see the tape that they've had to add to the front wing of Lando Norris's car. When you see it up close and personal there, it doesn't look like the most sophisticated of things to do, especially when you consider this is supposed to be the pinnacle of motorsport, but duct tape is duct tape and it does the job. Lando Norris, second fastest car out on track, even with a duct tape together front wing. Kimi Antonelli just making his way through the final couple of corners now then. The Italian driver knows that the Mercedes car is looking like the one to beat, but can he get anywhere close to his teammate George Russell, who's been the dominant force for Mercedes so far in this qualifying sessions? Kimi Antonelli then. A little bit of active aero. You can see the straight modes highlighted in green, and you compare like the straight modes that we've got this season to the DRS zones that we had last year, and just everywhere. Look at them. So many little straights that they can activate straight mode on, dipping that front wing and gaining a little bit of top line speed. Of course, gets rid of that downforce though as soon as you get to a corner. You need that front wing to pop back up again. Kimi Antonelli quick through the first sector. It's a decent first sector time from Kimi Antonelli. Now making his way through that second sector, and it's actually purple through the second sector. Kimi Antonelli there. Looking very swift indeed. His teammate George Russell so now on a flying lap. Lindblad, I think, is on a flying lap, although Lawson is going very, very slowly. So maybe going for another build-up lap, or maybe made a little bit of a mistake. But here comes Kimi Antonelli, though. He's going to go from 7th fastest to fastest overall. And Kimi Antonelli takes that top spot and provisional pole position. Although George Russell is fastest in the first and second sectors. Needs to find 2.5 tenths if he's going to retake that pole position spot from his younger teammate. And George Russell absolutely going for it. Pedal to the floor in George Russell's car as he comes around turn 13 and 14. He's going to come across the start-finish line. Let's see what the standard is from George Russell. It's a 118.5 from George Russell. Wow. I'm not sure anyone's going to get close to that, if I'm honest with you. Piastri and Leclerc pushing it at the moment, but they're nowhere close to an 18.5 that George Russell has just put together. Isaac Hadjar has just gone a little bit slower than he was previously through that middle part of the lap as well. Piastri, though, looking to improve and goes ahead of his teammate Lando Norris, so his third fastest now at his home Grand Prix. Here comes Charles Leclerc's Ferrari. He then takes third spot. No one getting close to the two Mercedes cars, though. Charles Leclerc, 0.8 of a second behind George Russell. That is a staggering gap. And here comes Isaac Hadjar in his first race for Red Bull. He starts third. Starts in the podium places. Obviously managed to pick up a podium place last year. Will he start inside of that podium places? Lando Norris doesn't improve, stays sixth fastest. Here comes Lewis Hamilton. Can he nab it from him? No, Lewis Hamilton stays seventh. So Isaac Hadjar is going to start inside of those podium positions. Arvid Lindblad is going to be putting together a final flying lap. Is he going to get anywhere inside of the top 8? The top of the top 7, sorry. Starts 8th. Will Arvid Lindblad. And Liam Lawson also. Oh, as Lawson then comes across the start-finish line to actually take 8th away from Lindblad. George Russell. That is a lap. That is a lap time from George Russell. That is. I'm not sure. I mean, nearly a second quicker than Hadjar and Leclerc and Piastri and Norris, and is a second quicker than Lawson, and well, a second and a half quicker than Lawson. Goodness gracious me. So Mercedes, they might be pretty good. they might actually be pretty good, I think. The Mercedes team. And George Russell might be pretty quick. Wow. Thank you guys so much for watching. We are going to be live tomorrow for the Grand Prix. 58 laps of the Albert Park circuit between George Russell and his pole position start and possibly the first win of the season. Kimi Antonelli's teammate will start beside him, second on the grid, then running it through. Hadjar and Leclerc were third and fourth fastest. They then had Piastri and Norris, they'll start on the third row of the grid, side by side in their two McLarens. We've got Hamilton in 7th place, Lawson in 8th place, Lindblad and Bortoletto rounding out the points scoring places. And then it was Hülkenberg, Behrman, Ocon, Gasly, Albon and Colapinto, the 6 drivers to drop out in Q2. They'll start on the 6th row, 7th row and 8th row of the grid. Before then, Alonso, Perez, Bottas, Verstappen, Sainz and Stroll will be the 6 drivers towards the back end of the pack. Interesting that Max Verstappen there, starting 20th place. Like, what will he be able to achieve from there? Obviously, he'll get past the 2 Cadillacs and likely Fernando Alonso, as it's unlikely Aston Martin will even get to the start of the Grand Prix. But then what will he be able to do? Can he get past the likes of Colapinto, Albon, Ocon, Behrman quickly? Is he going to be back into the top 10? Are we going to see him actually fight for positions that mean points? Or are we going to see a little bit of lacking in overtaking and maybe a struggle of these 2026 regulations and Max Verstappen maybe just stuck in the middle of the pack? We'll have to wait and see. Thank you guys so much for watching. Thank you for all of your support over the course of the season so far. I know that we're now only just getting into the full swing of things, but incredible support in the last few videos that have been out on the channel too. If you haven't already seen them, click the link in the description. Loads of really good content coming your way over the next few weekends as well. So make sure you subscribe to the channel. Thank you guys so much, and I will see you tomorrow.